Okay, sounds good. Right now, there's a lot of uncertainty in CBD. We're kind of facing some uncertainty with the FDA. We got a legal farm bill. My three panelists today are going to help us kind of figure out some of the patchwork of what's going on out there on the federal level here. Everyone's looking at CBD as a big opportunity. I think everyone in this room has some connection to cannabis. CBD has sort of popped up in the last few months as a federal legalization and farm bill has come around. And I think a lot of us are finding ourselves now kind of running parallel businesses and trying to figure out how we take advantage of what they think is going to be a $22 billion market here in the US. My esteemed guests here are David Bramfin. He's a super lawyer. His focuses in trademark and IP law. We're going to have a little bit of discussions around how to protect your business with both trademarks and patents. My next guest is Chris Husson. Chris Husson, and he is business development and sales operator for Elixinol, and they are a global distributor of CBD products, manufacturer, vertically integrated, kind of all over the place. And then additionally, I have Yannick Schlupp. He's from Pure Cannabis Research. Those guys are a Swiss company who are growing really fast. They've done a lot in 2 years, and I'm just going to give my guys a chance now to sort of introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their businesses. So, David, why don't you lead us off?
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Mitchell, and thanks to Alex and the gang for having us all here and putting this together. Love ICBC. And so my name is Dave Bramfman. I'm from down the road, San Diego, California, by way of New York originally, and once upon a time, I was just a trademark and copyright and innovation lawyer in San Diego with a lot of clients in all kinds of different industries, electronics, clothing, music, TV, film, everything you can think of, restaurants. And then about 10 years ago, or what I like to refer to as 70 marijuana dog years ago, somebody kind of clued me in that this industry was rapidly developing, and it dawned on me that I should figure out how to take my skills from those other industries and apply them to the cannabis industry. I started learning everything I could, got involved with NORML first and a bunch of other organizations, and little by little by little, over the last 10 years, we've been helping clients all over the place develop intellectual property. IP is the umbrella term for copyrights, patents, trademarks, trade secrets, domain names. We've been helping people develop strategies in this industry for how to work within this complex legal system, which is very bifurcated and divided. That's kind of it in a nutshell. Chris.
Hi, my name is Chris Husson. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for Elixinol. We distribute CBD products in 42 different countries. We've been in business a little over 5 years, and are out of Colorado primarily, our headquarters, but have offices in Japan, Europe, and Australia. We primarily focus on developing high-quality delivery systems to make sure that people get high-quality CBD in them. We've come out with several different new delivery systems that you can come see at the booth, including microencapsulating full-spectrum oil into a powder, so you can mix it into your drink and completely water-soluble, up to liposomes and high-quality capsules and dog treats, and an amazing new skincare line that we just launched. But primarily what we're focused on is being an innovator in the market, from growing, from production, from quality, and from testing, and from transparency aspects.
Thank you. I'm Yannick. We just flew in from Switzerland 2 days ago. Switzerland is the country that's known for chocolate, the Alps, and more recently weed. It's cannabis, CBD cannabis. I'm from the breeding company, and I'm managing this one, but I'm representing the holding, which is it's going to be an interesting topic afterwards. Fully integrated holding from varieties breeding all the way to the sales. We're selling from Switzerland to the European Union, but also internationally. We're the biggest company in Europe. We've started 2 years ago. It all took off, and now we're selling flowers as cessation products. We're selling dietary supplements, CBD oils, and we're doing white labeling, private labeling, bulk orders worldwide. That's the story from my side. looking forward to this talk.
Cool. I think first question I want to start with is for you two gentlemen who are in the production end of this business, and I think audience might be curious about sort of what products you guys are producing, what's selling well, and sort of the diversity of products in CBD that you guys work with specifically.
Sure. So CBD is, like you mentioned earlier, just this burgeoning business. So I think a lot of different products are still being created out there. What we're focused on is dietary supplements to help people take it in their day-to-day life and invest in their health and find ways to take CBD that fit into their normal everyday life. The powdered or the microencapsulated powder that we talked about earlier is one of our newer innovations to make sure that happens. So you can just take some in the morning, some in the afternoon, some right before you go to bed, and take a little single serving sachet.
Does that kind of mix into whatever you want to put it in?
Exactly. So we have different flavors throughout the day, you know, berry, citrus, cocoa, things like that. But the idea is that it's something that somebody can add to their protein shake or their oatmeal or their tea or their coffee on a regular basis and just make it just like all the other biohacking things that people are doing to find better ways to live and use natural plants to give their body the information to heal themselves.
I think for us we need to distinguish two markets. One is the business-to-business market, which is the prevailing market for us internationally. There we, as the largest producer in Europe, we clearly go for bulk products, we go for private label and white labeling on the whole spectrum, starting from flower cessation products below 0.2% THC. So it's really nice flowers, but they're federally legal, similar to the Farm Bill that has passed here in the States. All the way to CBD oils and isolates, terpene fractions, etc., etc. In Switzerland, we're also selling more dietary supplements to pharmacies. We're having a few thousand points of sales. I know this sounds like nothing to you guys here. Back home for a 8 million people market, this is quite a bit. And there it's also business to customer, and more so the tobacco cessation products with up to 1% THC, because in Switzerland, the law is not like it is in States with 0.3% THC, but 1%. Meaning Switzerland is turning into this hub of CBD production. There's different varieties we can grow. It's not hemp, it's really this cannabis type with a low THC. And we have the whole width of products. Started with 50, felt the market, testing the waters, seen that some are really worth it, others we've dispatched.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the ones you've tossed aside?
Apologies?
Some of the products that you've decided not to pursue.
Absolutely. We will resume those, but for instance, the CBD-infused beer, since it's considered a novel food, we stopped, and we got to wait for the laws to change to bring us back onto the market. We're selling candies these days, but for instance, some CBD paste, we stopped doing so, and we just had to focus on a few things because we're organically financed, and we just can't do everything.
Fair enough. Cool. David, maybe I'm going to circle back to you and have you talk a little bit about how people who are coming into the CBD space. I know that the USPTO, Patent and Trademark Office, has had pushback against cannabis in the past. What does the Farm Bill mean for cannabis in the future when it comes to patents and trademarks?
Great question. We don't know for sure yet exactly what the Farm Bill is going to mean because the law in general moves slowly and the Patent and Trademark Office moves slowly. So for example, on a good day, if we filed a US trademark application today, and I'm talking for just this moment about trademarks as opposed to patents, so that it's the Patent and Trademark Office, one office, but you can think of it as there's the patent door over here and the trademark door over there, and they're not the same, and they don't treat cannabis or cannabis-related products the same way. But if we filed a trademark application today for a brand name, Dave's Naturals. Okay, I want to file a trademark application today for Dave's Naturals for any product, whether it's cannabis or not. If I file it today, it's going to sit in a queue, an electronic queue, for a minimum of 4 months before a trademark lawyer at the trademark office even looks at it. So Farm Bill was signed December 20th of last year. If somebody filed a trademark application for shampoo containing CBD that's compliant with the Farm Bill, let's say, if that's how they described it, for Dave's Naturals, for shampoo containing CBD that's compliant with the Farm Bill. They filed it that day or the next day. That application isn't going to be looked at until, ironically, 4/20 at the earliest, and probably longer because of the government shutdown. And so we don't know yet, we don't know, capital N, capital K, capital N, capital OW. We don't know what exactly they're going to do. We think, I think, my office thinks, others of my kind think, that they may allow trademark applications for the first time. They've been excluding trademark applications for anything that is cannabis, contains cannabis, or touches cannabis, such as a testing facility or trimming equipment, for the better part of the last 5 or 6 years. They've been very, very prohibitive. We think that now certain types of products that contain CBD that complies with the hemp bill, the Farm Bill, hemp-derived CBD with less than 0.3% THC, not ingestible, I'm thinking, so not tinctures, not edibles, but topicals, shampoos, conditioners, patches, where no health claims are made. That's going to be pretty important. May get through. So if you're in this business or thinking about getting in this business or this industry or this movement, you're risk takers. So we're thinking it's time to take some risks and try these trademark applications. Don't wait. Why wait for 4, 5, 6 months? The reason we're not more sure is because although the Farm Bill seems to decriminalize CBD, the FDA the same day, the Food and Drug Administration, the same day that the Farm Bill was signed, the FDA issued, the chairperson of the FDA issued a statement that essentially said, not so fast. We're not sure.
I think there's an important distinction to make there between laws and regulations. That we passed a law, now regulators are stepping in to try to sort of steer the ship when it comes to how that law is interpreted and how it's executed on a product level. I think one of the big lessons that we've learned from the FDA and the announcement you're talking about is that you have to be very careful about making health claims.
Yeah.
Because there are not the studies to back it up. FDA has its own approval process for that, and that process takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. So I think people who are thinking about running a CBD business here stateside, there's going to be a little bit of uncertainty from the federal level, and ultimately they want you to be really careful about making health claims. Do you guys have anything to add on that?
Well, I think it's very important what you just said, that federally it's legal. And the FDA, what they did was mention that now as a dietary supplement, there's a pathway for CBD to become regulatorily approved, right? And so they're working with us, they're working with the Hemp Roundtable, they're working with lots of different organizations to make sure that they figure all of this out, because it's not that they don't want to do it, it's that all the different stores and people that report to them or ask them and they work with on a daily basis are saying, what do we do? And so now they're trying to figure it out. So we're all trying to work together to help them be able to figure it out. And each individual state, with that information from the FDA, is now making their own different regulations. But this isn't DEA, this isn't ATF, this isn't it. You know, they're not coming for you.
And they don't care about anecdotal evidence.
That's not what's going on. But I think another very important thing you need that you made a distinction on is making claims. And making claims is something that isn't just a CBD thing, right? I mean, the FDA jumps on all sorts of industries that we all see on late night TV for making all sorts of claims. And I think it's very easy for people in our industry, because CBD is such a powerful thing, to go to that low-hanging fruit and start making those claims. And we really need to police ourselves now to make sure that we're all saying the right things and we're all being ethical and moral, not just following FDA and legal guidelines.
I know that Nick had some of the stuff in his presentation prior to this about the WHO and Europe. Maybe Yannick, you could just talk a little bit about how the regs are different in Europe.
Yes, it is a different approach European Union and Switzerland take. As long as the varieties meet this 0.2% THC level in the European Union or this 1% in Switzerland, the plants are regulated in the sense that it's perfectly legal, like any other crop, like maize, like soy. You can grow it, you can sell it. And what claims is concerned, the only limitation is that we are not allowed to put claims on CBD products. But there's ways around it. We have registered dietary supplements. You just need to find those. Unfortunately, it's still loopholes. We're working with the authorities, with the regulators. We founded a syndicate on cannabis in the European Union to bring forward and to bring progress. But currently, it's unfortunately kind of finding the ways through and the loopholes. And that's how we can do claims, but we currently refrain from doing so because the laws change quickly. And as it is here with the States, it's with the countries in Europe. It can be that one day you can sell, and the other day it's over.
Yeah. And so here in California, I think many of you may know that the dispensary system and the manufacturing systems here do not allow any hemp-derived CBD products. So essentially, our state regulators here on the hemp side are pretty far behind in terms of building the bureaucracy and regs and issuing permits, and so many hemp companies here stateside are going to different states. Oregon, Kentucky, North Carolina, where they're really embracing this business and trying to fast track it. I think we've also seen, if you look at Oregon, cultivation as it sort of commoditizes a little bit more, a lot of the farmers in Oregon have been pivoting really hard to CBD because they can move from a small canopy to hundreds of acres. And it's been a boon for them, and I think that's going to be their opportunity. I know they were lobbying to try to export cannabis out of Oregon. I kind of think that that's a slim chance of happening, but they can produce CBD flower and hemp there and export it. It's not still stopping certain incidences where a truck gets pulled over with CBD flower and somebody gets arrested, or because a local cop isn't going to trust your paperwork. It looks, smells, quacks like a duck. It's a duck to them. So,
i.e. Oklahoma, right?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So that kind of stuff does happen, and I think there's a lot of really smart people in the dispensary business here in California, and they know what works, and they're making sure their clients get it, whether it comes from hemp or whether it comes from marijuana, and knowing the difference between the actual legal definition of what hemp is and the actual botanical or biological definition of what hemp is, and providing what is beneficial to their clients. It's unfortunate that it seems that a regulatory system is trying to regulate something they don't understand, and so I think it's up to us here in this room and throughout the state of California to continue to do that. We're providing our hemp CBD products throughout California. It's one of our largest states. And while it's unfortunate that most of the dispensaries can't carry our products currently today, we're working closely with the state of California to make sure that it does. But you can get it at the grocery store, you can get it from your doctor, you can get it from the acupuncturist, the coffee shop down the street. So it makes only sense that people going for what they need should be able to get it at the dispensary too. It makes no sense.
Could you guys maybe talk a little bit about the different delivery systems? I know that, Chris, you guys have sort of a unique play in this. Can you guys talk about some of the other ways that people are consuming this, and where the opportunities are in that currently, especially given sort of the FDA is sort of talking more and more about food products and stuff of that nature?
Sure. Well, Yannick has a lot of different delivery systems that he's talked about, his pre-rolls, and he's very innovative over in Sweden and throughout Europe. We're very...
Switzerland, please.
Sorry, Switzerland.
No worries.
Completely my mistake. Additionally, we're working on a lot of different delivery systems. I mentioned a few times our microencapsulation process. Very proud of our liposomal CBD, but probably our flagship product is our X-Pen. That's the most raw form of the CBD oil that we provide in an airless delivery oral applicator that people just love, and so that they can get the most natural version of the CBD product. We know that not everybody wants to take their CBD in the same way. So we're trying to find different ways to fit, because one of the hardest questions I'm asked as a sales and marketing guy is, what's your demographic? You know, who's your ideal client? Well, with CBD, it's like everybody from 8 to 80, right? And trying to narrow that down, you know, we're doing that by product sets, finding a delivery system that helps, you know, and fits that demographic and that need, and filling the needs to make sure that somebody doesn't have to look at a big, giant, scary white syringe and say, how much do I take? And, you know, oh, the size of a grain of rice. I'm like, what? And that doesn't make any sense. And so trying to figure that stuff out for people and help them get really good, well thought out delivery systems and products.
Cool. Yannick, you got anything to add there in terms of your delivery systems and sort of what's working?
Yes. The delivery systems are closely linked to claims, because back home we're not allowed to do claims on CBD. But we've experienced from patients reporting that the, say, candies or sublingual drops work much better, far better than things they ingest. Also, what's very important to us is to go with full spectrum extracts, because from experience and from reports, these are far superior in terms of the efficiency than the isolates. That's kind of our experience. We're working together with patients and hospitals, more so outside of the European Union, because within it's quite difficult. We'll be bringing new products soon to the markets, not to the States yet, but anyways, we can ship worldwide, so maybe. But it's more the claims that are limiting it than the delivery systems.
Cool. I'm going to skip back to you, David, here for a minute. I want to talk a little bit about the difference between USPTO law and California law when it comes to doing business as.
Sure. So the difference between California law and federal law, it again keeps us awake at night, trying to keep these things different, keep everything separate, or understand the differences. So we've got the federal system, which for many years on the trademark side, again on the trademark side, has been very restrictive when it comes to trademarks for cannabis products or anything that contains cannabis or anything that touches cannabis. And I draw that distinction again because people say to me often, well, can I get a trademark registration? Can I get a trademark registration for my clothing product if it has a pot leaf on it? And the answer is yes. It's not the pot leaf on the product that triggers the refusal from the Patent and Trademark Office. It's the product itself. If the product is cannabis, touches cannabis, or contains cannabis, no, you can call it, again, Dave's Naturals, not have a pot leaf on it, but if it contains cannabis or is cannabis, it's going to get rejected. Or you can have a product that has a giant pot leaf all over it. If it's doesn't violate the CSA, it's going to sail through. So the trademark office has had this prohibition for years. They in fact have 5 or 6 lawyers who I informally refer to as the pot posse, who are specifically assigned to looking at all trademark applications, federal trademark applications that appear to have anything to do with cannabis, and they're very smart and they're very knowledgeable and they're carrying out their job as they are told to do their job. And the irony is, the reason you can walk through the patent office door and get a patent for cannabis or a cannabis product, but you can't get a trademark for a product that contains cannabis, is because the trademark law specifically says words to the effect of, thou shalt not issue a trademark registration for anything that is illegal. So that puts cannabis under the CSA and nuclear weapons in the same category. Whereas there is no such sentence in the patent laws. So that's why you can walk through the patent door and get a patent. Now we go to California, which for years and years and years and years followed the federal law, no trademark registrations for cannabis products or anything that touched cannabis, until January 1 of 2018, a year ago. And the law changed in California, and the California Trademark Unit in Sacramento now accepts trademark applications for products, for cannabis products, or products that contain or touch cannabis, so long as they are compliant with California law. So you have to be able, they don't ask for your BCC license. In other words, the state trademark unit does not ask to see your BCC license when you file a trademark application. They ask you to sign your application under your trademark application under penalty of perjury. They'll take your word for it. And they'll leave it to litigation later on down the road with a competitor. If you sue a competitor and it turns out you falsified your trademark application to get your trademark registration, the trademark unit in Sacramento will leave it to the courts to decide whether you fraudulently got your trademark registration. But you can get a trademark registration in California. I would say make sure you have your BCC license in your file so you can show that if you ever have to down the road.
So there's a lot of companies in the cannabis space with the same name. That's a common occurrence. You see it pretty frequently. That some of the names are.
We have 7 clients in my little firm that have Humboldt in their name, and we've had to put pictures of the names and the pictures of the operators, like in the post office, to keep them separate. Everybody and their brother wants to use Humboldt, Emerald, Green, Can, or Canna, and it creates confusion in the marketplace.
So
bad
I guess maybe you might recommend people go a different way if they can.
I recommend people go a different way. Yes, I do.
Cool.
The more clever and creative you can be, the better off you are. So the classic example that I like to use to help people understand this is apple is a dictionary word, a word you can find in the dictionary. That makes it seemingly generic. But when applied to computers and small electronic devices, it's unique because apples are not computers and small electronic devices in the real world. So Apple as a trademark for computers and small electronics is a 10 on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being the worst, 10 being the best. However, Apple as a trademark for applesauce or apple juice would be a 0 because in that context it would be generic. So you want to be as clever and unique as you possibly can. Mrs. Fields, Exxon, Kodak, Xerox, Famous Amos. Those trademarks, those brand names help you identify and distinguish your product from the competitor's product, and they stand apart on the shelf and in the magazines and all your advertising. And they're easy to remember, and they say nothing about the product.
Yeah, and then occasionally you might get lucky and end up being a Kleenex. Where
Might be what?
A Kleenex,
Kleenex,
where your brand name becomes the thing that it actually is.
Although they have to spend millions of dollars a year advertising that Kleenex is a noun, not a verb.
Yeah.
They don't want people going to the store and saying, where's the Kleenex aisle? They want you to go into the store and say, where can I find the Kleenex brand tissue paper?
Exactly. Cool. I guess I want to switch back to you, Chris. I want to hear a little bit about the challenges of sort of taking a CBD company global. From sort of, I think everyone needs to start somewhere, but finding global opportunities obviously is a challenge. Could you just sort of talk about your guys' journey a little bit from where you guys started and where you ended up going global?
Sure. So Elixinol was founded by Paul Benham, who has been in the hemp industry over 2 decades. He brought the very first hemp bar to the UK, the 9 Bar, and he's been innovating in the hemp industry and growing in the hemp industry ever since. So he did a lot of the heavy lifting for a lot of people in the industry, including us. And so when he decided to found Elixinol, because so many people wanted CBD 5 years ago, and there was no way to get it. So what we started doing initially was importing CBD. Importing ore from Europe. We had farms, yep.
Cool.
And so we had to import CBD from Europe initially because they wouldn't let us grow it here in the United States. And when they finally let us grow it here in the United States, we quickly moved to be able to do that. So we have farms in Colorado growing it. And it's difficult. I mean, you mentioned earlier, risk taker. I was very, very privileged to be able to work with Paul and Gabe, who have been risk takers because they saw what good CBD could do in the world, and they saw the impact that hemp can make in the world. So by taking those risks and being innovative and understanding that good will win out, they invested a lot of time and took a lot of risks. And there's been times that it didn't look good for the CBD world. And when we went public a year ago, January, going through the legal process and not just backfilling and reverse merging into an existing company, but actually going public on the Australian Stock Exchange, explaining to lawyers and explaining to finance people the risks that we took importing CBD and creating our CBD and all those type of things are challenging, and they gave me a lot of the gray hair I have today, and definitely have been worth it though. Every second of it and every minute of it has been worth it, and we all work really hard and are a testament to the work that the people that came before me. I mean, the very first cannabis trade show I came to was ICBC a little over 5 years ago.
Great.
And so it's been amazing.
Awesome. I guess this question's for maybe both you and Yannick. How do you guys compete with the big dogs? If this thing becomes federal legal, and well, it is, but when the regs shake out and we start getting the General Mills into the business, or some of these other major companies coming in, like how do you guys compete with them? How do you compete with wholesale extracts and isolates coming out of China? Can you guys just talk a little bit about that?
It doesn't feel so much like competition, to be honest. Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Say, we started small and we're just 2 years old, and then we kind of started producing, people started demanding, we started growing, and there's few things to our success. One was the vertical integration. I know there was this debate before whether it's smart or not to be vertically integrated. For us, we have this family culture, the constant exchange between the various companies, and this was one thing that's helped us. At the same time, we've been diversifying and specializing, which is near impossible. This was thanks to the growth. And lastly, we have the strategic alliances to other continents, to universities, law firms, etc., etc. And this kind of helped us sustain in the market. And there's such a large demand. There's space for many more.
Cool. I think we're going to take, we only got about 5 minutes left, so we're going to open it up for some Q&A. If anybody wants to try to get in Giles' attention.
I'm right here, man. Get
all
your
right.
own attention. Let's hear it again for Mitchell and the whole panel on CBD, which is everywhere. It's like omnipresent. I got a quick one. What do you do when, I guess it doesn't matter to you, but when they ban CBD in like New York, where you can't put it in food and stuff anymore? Have you seen a dip in anything? Or
So
you looking for
CBD
alternatives?
wasn't banned, which is a pretty cool, sensational headline on a news article. But what they're looking to do is follow regulations that they think are coming from the FDA, and not allowing people to put it into a commercial food or like a cocktail. So that's the regulation that they just brought in. But you can still buy all of our products throughout New York, and we're still shipping to New York. So they're just working through those regulations, and we work really close with the state of New York to help them start to figure out these things. And it's just a knee-jerk because everybody wants to it. Sure. Because the other side of it, because you really have to have a 360 view, New York is also the one handing out the licenses to grow hemp everywhere. They're handing out licenses to extract hemp. They're really investing in the hemp community. So they're just not talking to each other yet, and once they do, it'll all get worked out.
It sounds like they're fumbling through interpretation of federal law right now.
They're
And they're trying to do their best.
and they're figuring
Do
it out.
do you think that the FDA should be the entity to regulate CBD, or should it be left to states, or just hippies, or?
So the FDA is a great organization for us to be able to work with. I think they're looking for education to figure it out, and I think the individual organizations in each state absolutely should be able to figure it out their own too, and we're working with each one to help them. We have a giant spreadsheet on each state, and we're always working with them with our different lobbyists and different organizations to make sure that they know what's going on.
Yeah, I think everyone in this room here can help also by engaging their lawmakers and
please do.
regulators. If you ever have an opportunity to have those conversations, I think there's also a deeper need in this business for data and studies. And I think the more that we can convince our institutions and science organizations and health organizations to study this,
And lobby groups.
and lobbyist groups,
Yeah.
the better off we'll all be in the end.
And rally your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather, your aunt and uncle, so that your legislators see that it's not just a certain demographic that is pushing this, but that there are like real adults in the room.
Yeah. Health benefits up and down the entire spectrum of.
I mean, show of hands, how many have a mother, father, grandmother, or grandfather who in the last year have said something like, oh, my girlfriends and I just love that CBD stuff.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Just seek the dialogue with everyone.
Yeah,
Helps.
I guess the point there is we all know somebody who's benefited from it, but that's not enough for the FDA. We need people to study this. We need it to be done the right way. You know, and when we get there, I think the whole thing will grow better with a lot less pain.
So I have a quick question. So I'm working with Jetty Extracts, who's traditionally been in the THC space. We're looking to now. We're looking to create Jetty CBD. So my job has been like procuring where to find distillate. We're having trouble finding folks that are able to actually produce whole plant, full spectrum extracted distillate that after extraction has less than 0.3% THC. You know, not the dry weight, but the after. So you know, like someone like us who's looking to do like 20 kilos a month ongoing. You know, not only is it a sourcing issue, but also I'm wondering what you guys are seeing in markets like Core Power Yoga or, you know, different, health food stores, cafes. If we're trying to go into the vape route, which hasn't been traditionally as popular as like the tinctures or topicals, what are you guys seeing as far as the interest in that? Why haven't more people done that? Because I feel like, am I missing something? I feel like we're kind of first to market to do this, but I just would love some context from y'all.
I'm not an expert in this, but part of what I think is nicotine. I think that has a big effect on vaping in general. I think the FDA has made that very clear too, that they see nicotine vaping as a big problem, especially with youth usage and some of these other things. That the nicotine in vape pens is powerful, and additionally, vaping is an exercise. One hand you've got THC, the other hand you've got nicotine. CBD, it's a different delivery method that I think these guys could also talk about in terms of all the different delivery methods that are coming on. I think there's space for it, but maybe you guys could add.
I think you're exactly right on. I think it's an amazing market. I think you should be going full force into it, and I think that the risk that we talked about earlier is nicotine, but that people are associated with nicotine. But mainly, that big hesitation has been ATF. That product set has to be regulated by that three-letter organization, and the CBD industry already has so many other three-letter organizations coming after them that they've been hesitant to pick one more. But I think it's an amazing way to get CBD into your body, and I think you should talk to me after, and we'll make sure that we get Jetty, because I love Jetty sushi. So let's make sure we get Jetty some good CBD.
Fantastic. Time for two more.
Hi, my name's Sean Blackwell, and I am actually from Idaho, and I have a Facebook page that's called Legalize Hemp in Idaho. It's actually still illegal in Idaho, and we had a bust in southern Idaho recently. They got my face on the news because people started asking me questions. What is marijuana as opposed to hemp? Because Idaho obviously is not interested in marijuana at all, and making it a really great place for hemp to be grown, because there won't be any cross-pollination. So a lot of people don't really think about that, because that's going to be a huge issue coming up. I want you to elaborate on the legalization in states like Idaho, and also the fact that it will be beneficial for a state like that because of the lack of cross-pollination.
So you're talking about growing hemp in Idaho. Is what
Yes,
you're talking about?
which is still definitely illegal in Idaho.
Right, growing it. Right.
We were talking about that bust in the green room.
Right. So growing it, and obviously that's a big source of income, source of revenue, source of ways to revive our economy here in the United States. So I'm really happy that all these different states are starting to legalize it. I would love Idaho to grow it, because finding areas like Idaho that have land that you could easily certify organic to grow is hard to find. Because there's lots of states that are legalizing it that don't have hardly any land that you could certify organic, because they've been growing tobacco or cotton or all sorts of things on it that have GMOs and pesticides and things in it. So I'd love Idaho to do it. We're absolutely working with the Hemp Roundtable. We're working with the Hemp Industrial Association. We're working with all sorts of organizations to help move those laws along. So I think it's only a matter of time before it happens. So thank you for doing the work that you're doing there, and just hang in there. It's gonna happen soon.
Let me ask too, Ungayo, I'm over here. I'm sitting down, my feet hurt. Hi. To his point about cross-pollination, like I'm all for Idaho growing hemp because, we grow pretty good weed out here in California. We don't want your boys and our girls as
I'll laugh. That was a good joke.
Do you understand what I'm talking about? Because hemp pollen can fly up to 30 miles sometimes. And if you got a recreational grow 5 miles from a hemp grow, all of a sudden you got problems. And so please legalize hemp in Idaho and Nebraska so they can grow it. And we can just grow good weed out here. That's all I wanted to say.
Hi, panel. My question is sort of bringing it back to basics a little bit. I think that a lot of people don't really know what CBD is versus cannabis in the general market outside this room. And I'm wondering if there's any effort to educate people out there in the public as to the benefits of CBD, not on a brand level, but on a basic level, so that people can go out there and look to buying it and actually know what they're buying it for.
Maybe to give you some insight, how we've done it back home is we started with a cannabis farm, and we've grown cannabis publicly, meaning cannabis as low THC. And people could just walk in. There were information banners. We've been giving tours to police, to the government, et cetera, et cetera.
It's absolutely amazing. I was there a few weeks ago. It's
Thank
amazing.
you, Alex. And this is how we've got this media coverage to represent CBD, make people realize what its benefits are, how they can use it. Might be an approach you can go for. Afterwards, the other speakers, one is from Switzerland, Ben from Canatrade. They will give you more insights on the whole regulations and Swiss market, European market. So you might want to stay put with them.
So absolutely, we're working on education on our end as well. We're working with lobbyists, we're working with hospitals, we're working with colleges, we're working with states to make sure that everybody understands that CBD is an amazing product and that hemp is the difference between the biological definition from hemp and the legal definition of hemp, because I think earlier you said the difference between CBD and cannabis, which is not really the case. CBD comes from cannabis. Obviously, in the CBD that we sell comes from cannabis. And it's the legal definition of hemp, which is a cannabis plant that has less than 0.3 THC in it. So we sell that CBD.
You're talking about the difference between industrial hemp, which is pretty much a bean pole that is really grown for its stock. It's just like breeding dogs in a different way. It's a Chihuahua.
Sweet
it's a
corn
Great
and
Dane.
feed corn.
Yeah,
Right.
There you go.
That's all the time we have. Let's hear it once again. It's a fantastic and enlightening panel.